This is WholeLife, a podcast from the WholeLife Church in Orlando, Florida.
Join me, Ken Wetmore, lead pastor, and Melanie Bachman, our worship pastor, along with our communication team, Randy and Lucas. Take a look back, a look deeper, and a peek into the week ahead.
Here we explore meaningful conversations about spirituality, community, and living with purpose.
We don't have all the answers, but we are walking the journey together.
Wherever you're listening from, you're wanted here.
This is WholeLife.
Hello, podcast world. This is WholeLife, and I am your host today, Ken Wetmore, coming to you from the studios at 2800 North Orange Avenue in Orlando, Florida. Sitting across from me is my good friend and usual host. You know who it is, Randy Magray. How are you doing, Randy?
I survived, and so I feel good.
The church is here. I came back. Everything seems to be exactly where it was before. So we'll see.
No flames.
No flames. In spite of the AI'd picture that was sent to me about. We will leave that one alone. But welcome to episode 514 of This is WholeLife. We're really glad to have you listening this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever it is you're listening to this. We are happy to have you on board. Normally, this is Randy, but he was the one who preached this week, so I only thought it was fair that I got to host today. We are in a little bit of a different situation. Normally, we have our compatriots with us, Melanie Bachman and Lucas, but the two of them are doing other things, vacationing, I think. Do we allow that around here, Randy?
I've heard of this phenomenon, but they're not here, so I'm assuming it's been successful.
I would have some sort of snarky comment, but I was gone this weekend, so I don't think I get to make fun of anybody or say anything. So I hope, Melanie, if you're listening to this, why are you listening to this? And if you are, we hope you're having a great vacation with that grandbaby. Yeah.
Right? Well, this was...
Are you ready for grandchildren yet, Randy?
Oh, I don't even know that I'm ready for kids yet, and so...
I don't know. I'm like, I don't want it before the right time, but I am seeing people with grandkids and beginning to feel that twinge of jealousness.
Are you really?
I am. Yeah, I mean,
Grandpa Ken?
Well, I think being a grandparent looks like the best. You get this awesome child, and you get to hand it back when it's time for its diaper to be changed, when it's crying. You say, "Here you go, take your." I mean, this seems pretty great. It seems like it seems like when I covered the military as a reporter, when everything got kind of not fun, I got to leave but I got to do all the fun stuff and just not all the not so fun stuff. So this seems pretty great to me. So yeah, I don't know. I'm neither one of my children are married yet, so we're not ready for grandkids yet.
No.
But whenever that rolls around, I feel like I'm getting there. I'm really ready for it. And
man, you just messed with my mind because I hadn't considered Grandpa Ken yet.
Yeah,
Grandpa Ken.
Hey,
you're gonna be the best grandpa ever, though.
You think so?
Oh yeah, because you're gonna be the one. You're gonna be the one that's like, hey, back off. What's going on? It's my. No. Come here. What did they say to you? You come here. You come by Grandpa Ken. He'll protect you.
I can
see it.
I had great grandparents, so I hope I'm as good a grandparent as the grandparents I had. They're both sets were great people. And speaking of which, Randy, a reason I wasn't here this last week was because we did a flying trip. We left Thursday evening.
Now tell me you didn't drive.
We did. We drove. Well, there's no airport near where my granny lives. There is turn off the paved road. That's what, and that's not exactly fair. It's paved all the way there. But my point is, she lives up. You get to Stanton, Virginia, and you turn left, and you just head across 3 mountain ranges, and then you come through this little tiny town of McDowell, Virginia.
McDowell, Virginia.
It's like this little town that's trapped in time. It's like just
good memories though.
Yeah, the best.
Like from
the best. Even now, I love visiting there. It's up in the mountains. It's beautiful country. Nice people. And so yeah, we drove up there. I reset the I reset all the different things in the car so that I could see what our records were that were going to be. And we left on Thursday. evening. We left about 4:00 Thursday. We got back about 8 or 9 o'clock on Sunday.
Wow.
And the odometer said we had done 2,143.6 miles in 35 hours and 21 minutes of sitting in that car. So it was, but we had a good time. It was really fun. We had a good time, and we got to hang out with my grandma for her 100th birthday, which was on Saturday, and just had a good time with her.
Yeah.
I just got done showing you before we started taping the videos, and my grandma doesn't look like she's 100, does she?
No, I mean, if you just saw her, and part of it, I think, is personality.
Yeah.
And your persona.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's got gray hair. She looks like she's an older woman, but I would have guessed, if you just walked by, I would have said probably 80, maybe. Yeah, something like that.
Late 70s, maybe early 80s, maybe. Yeah.
And she was just like, she's so sharp, and like nothing is like you're expecting someone that old maybe to be a little delayed, just in like, hey, why are you bothering me even? Like, and she was sharp, and the wit, I enjoyed that.
I think we might be able to show some of them in our 60-ish. I think some little bits maybe from it. So
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll piece it together so you can meet Grandma Bakken.
Yeah, Bakken?
Bakken.
Yeah. That sounds like a dance move.
Yeah, well,
all the kids are doing the Bakken.
She'd be pleased to hear that, because my grandma, she sure did love her country line dancing.
Well, all the new kids are doing the Bakken. So
doing the Bakken. There we are.
Well, I searched for McDowell. Yeah.
Did you find it? It is a dot.
This took me to West Virginia.
It's close to West Virginia, but it is not West Virginia.
This says McDowell County is as close as it got.
No. This is McDowell, Virginia.
So this said it was like 11 hours and 21 minutes, but I was like, that's not it.
That actually might be pretty close. We drove to Southern Adventist University to pick up Kyla. Then we drove from there, and we stopped in.
There we go. Unincorporated.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, I love this aerial view. It's like really in a valley.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Off of 250.
Yeah.
And the 678. Well, there you go. Go see Grandma. Wow. You're not kidding when you said you had to go through. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. It's
that's wild.
You have to want to show up there.
Intentionality.
It was so fun, though. We had a great weekend, and then made it back in time for school for the kiddos on Monday. So it was good stuff. And great job, by the way, Randy, with the sermon. I was able to watch a bit of it and of the service, and just enjoyed it. I obviously read the sermon before I left, and you did some little upgrades that I noticed in this from what I'd originally read. Yeah, I don't know that I changed a ton in what I actually wrote down, but in the moment, some of it just kind of changed. I was thinking about it. Now, you told everybody that I told you had to keep it PG, which is actually correct. I mean, that said, Randy, it was already PG. Randy hadn't done anything, but I thought what might be a little bit more fun today is to talk a little bit more, maybe about some of the stuff you might not want to say in front of everybody. Yeah. And so, growing up, what was your you said several times you said I'd rather be playing with my blocks. I would have rather been on the back of the motorcycle with my dad. So what was it about church that was difficult for you from an early age? Man, starting with the blocks, I mean, that's the first one I remember, and it's one my mom likes to tell a lot. So that was an easy choice. And then I think part of it was school being right next door. I mean, literally the driveway, 2 lanes, 2 sidewalks, and church and school. Still that way today. My sister-in-law has been a teacher there now for over 30 years. Wow. And I've mentioned before in the podcast, my first job was at a produce farm, and Roland Bruntz was my 4th, 5th, and 6th grade teacher, those 3 different classrooms. And so, and Mr. Ost was the principal, and got along, like really, really enjoyed them, liked them. But it didn't seem like what happened at school always transferred over to what happened at church. Like the people that I respected and that seemed to get me at school, even though, I mean,
back in those days, if you had, you get your name on the board and then you get a check mark, and then you get a check mark, and then you get a check mark, and then you get a check mark. And pretty soon you're not going out for recess or PE because you're writing lines on the board or something of that nature. I mean, and when Mr. Bruns, he brought a paddle to school. We probably shouldn't talk about this, but he's like,
hey, we grew up in the same area. My principal Mr. Waukee had a paddle as well. It was rumored. I actually never saw it. I was terrified of it because my dad had well, anyway, we'll just put it this way. We had a deal where if I got something at school, I got twice as much at home. Yeah. So I was not up for that. And I was the oldest, so I was probably a little bit more like your older brother.
Yeah, the dance of my people. He actually had drilled holes through it, so it got more speed.
Yes, that was the rumor with Mr. Waukee's paddle too.
Yeah. So he would take us. It was never the girls, of course, because that would have been inappropriate. But it was the guys, and the girls were mad because they can get in trouble all day long. And then he'd walk into the bathroom and put your hands on the sink. Brace yourself, because here it comes.
So was this a semi-regular occurrence for you? How many times would?
Oh, every day.
Oh, wow, really?
To go out, almost every day to go outside. I was, because I was messing around, gabbing, talking, playing, shooting spitballs. I can't imagine
you doing those things. Wasn't it? Just that's such
spitballs and frogs and desks.
Yeah,
and, all the fun stuff.
So you said something a little earlier that I wanted to kind of go back and double click on. You said the people that I respected.
Yeah.
So as a child, teenager, what made you respect a church person? What was it that you were like, I can respect that versus I don't really respect these people? What was it that made you respect somebody?
Honestly, it was the people that were just honest, that didn't try to cover their blemishes with whatever, just being straightforward, and people that were willing to admit. And it was, it's hard. Nobody likes to say that I screw up or that. Yeah. And especially when it comes to church, nobody wants to say, well, my relationship with God's not very good right now, and I'm struggling, or and that was almost, especially Midwest, that's definitely a bootstrap society. We take care of ourselves, and we're willing to help others, but we don't need any help.
Right.
We're not the weaklings in the spiritual.
If it's going to help you to help me, I might be okay with it.
but especially spiritually, no, that was not a thing. And so I think it was people again, I saw Roland in his personal life a lot because I worked for him.
Yeah.
And he treated me with respect. He was always like, man, I just, appreciate how you work, and you're always here, and I can depend on you. And those were things that I already valued. And so for him, even though him and I, always were butting heads because he was the authoritarian and I was not, but
you respected him,
but I respected him, and Steve,
because he was authentic, and
I think it was just, I think that was the big thing. It was just authentic, no matter if it was just your everyday happenings or if it was someone that I saw who actually, if you would perhaps get to school at on time or you were late, and you'd come into Roland's room and you'd find him in his Bible, and I always just thought, here's someone that's actually, when nobody's looking, here's somebody doing what they say they do, and I always can respect that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's I think it's an interesting thing when you come from cultures where being authentic isn't valued. Where putting on a show is more important, like pretending.
Yeah.
And because the thing for me, growing up in a kind of a small community, I think a little bit like you, is the show doesn't really work. As kids, even youth, young adults, you knew what was going on, and people could pretend whatever they wanted, but what was really going on would leak out. And when you tried to pretend like there was nothing wrong, when you tried to pretend like all is well, it definitely felt fake.
Yeah.
And it was particularly hard to take a lecture from somebody you knew
had the same problem.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I hope, I mentioned in my message, not pointing fingers. There's no hard feelings. There's plenty of people there that I still again, I love and am friends with. And, but when you're, when you're out in public somewhere you're not supposed to be, and then you see a church member who sees you and immediately runs the other direction because they know they've been caught, even though that would have never been, would have never ratted anybody out or gotten anybody into trouble. But yet the next week, this person is, and again, not everyone's on their same journey. I'm not throwing rocks at them. I was in the same place. So I'm not saying that, I think they're like a horrible, bad person or anything like that. Instead of running away, if it had been me the other way, I'd have just been like, oh man, we're busted. We both we busted each other. And I'm not saying that at that time it might have been, well, let's go talk about Jesus because we have church in common necessarily. Yeah. But the respect level from that to just admit that you're a broken person. And I guess I've always carried that forward into my life as much as I can, that just trying to be open that, there's a lot of things about me that I wish were different. And there's things that God's still working on, and there's things that I'm still working on with him. But I just don't want anyone, I've had people who hear my story or that have been part of my story now come to me and say, man, you got your stuff together. How'd you do it? And I'm like, you don't even have a clue. I'm like, other than taking yourself out of certain situations and lifestyle choices, I'm like, I'm still just as broken as you are. I'm still figuring things out. I'm still trying to understand how what God wants from me. And I know that sounds like maybe an easy answer, but it's really true. And so and I don't want people to feel that way either, because that's how I felt, was like, oh man, look at them. And it's easy, right? You can look at other people and just go, man, I wish I was more like that. Instead of saying like, man, that's a great trait I should try to do. But like, you try to put your whole self and like, this is my experience, and it's not. It's wherever you and God are. And it's easy to forget that and then want what you don't have too. And that to me, it pushes you further away. It makes you feel further from being approachable. So
before I pivot to the theology side of things here, many stories you would have liked to tell, but you thought you saw me looking at you with a glare. Any stories you want to tell here?
There's I did have a friend text me and like, man, you really laid off the good stories. And I'm like, yeah, there's just not a lot of good stories that
work in a church setting.
Yeah. And someone else had come up to me earlier in the week and was like, oh man, I'm a little nervous about this weekend. And I'm like, oh, because I'm preaching? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, that's fair. That's a valid concern. I said, what are you concerned about? They're like, man, I don't want to hear another one of those messages about, the race to the bottom and who did what and how bad it was. And I'm like, no, I get that. And I think that also we've all heard those, or the opposite, where someone's like, man, I never left the straight and narrow. And I'm like, yeah, but you have a great story too. So, man, a good story. All right, I'll give you a story here that I mentioned my time at WA. We didn't cover many of those stories. And we had a Mr. Brown. He was our class sponsor. It was senior recognition weekend. And, there was a ton of things that people didn't like about us. And I can't even imagine.
How many people are part of the word us?
Us? Oh, it was the boys. So there was 4 of us. The Shane and Jody and my best friend Jeff and myself. And so anytime there was anything was wrong,
that was the us.
It was over the Mr. Magray, come down to the office. Mr. Woods, come down to the office. Mr. McNeilis, Mr. Corson, down to the office. Over the loudspeaker. So we got to Anyway, so senior recognition, and we we were working on this. They always put up some kind of a sign that hangs up in the ceiling or whatever. And we had asked to go to town early, get the paint and whatever. And like no one wanted to go. And Mr. Brown was just dragging his feet. And we got to the end of the day and we'd asked for whatever number of gallons. We came up a gallon short. And so he was like, well, yeah, I guess we can go get it. And he got back with the paint, taking his time. And he's like, well, sundown is in 45 minutes, so we don't have time to put up the sign. And we were like, one of my best friends, Keely, was our class president, and she's in tears. The girls are upset. And he's like, so just leave it here. And so like, what, we're just going to throw it out? Or like, what are we going to do? And he's like, no, well, whatever. It's just, we're not going to use it. You can use it for something else. I'm like, literally, this is the only thing you would use it for. So anyway, so he left campus. He lived on Faculty Row, which was, 300-400 yards from the ad building. So we waited for him to leave. He watched us walk back over to the dorm. We came back over and we had keys, so we could open the ad building.
You had keys that you had made, or keys that you had borrowed, or
yeah, keys that had eventually worked their way through other people that eventually got to us.
I've heard of those kind of keys.
Yeah, it was super helpful when you needed to get in somewhere. So we let ourselves back in, and it was getting dark because it was fall, and we knew we didn't have much time because he went home to just take a quick shower, eat, and he came back because I think he knew something was up. So we get to it wasn't an A-frame church at the academy, but it did have a vaulted ceiling. And when we went downstairs, we got the sign, we picked up the wire, and there was there were hooks in the ceiling so that because this was a regular occurrence. And they'd already tore down the scaffolding because it was Friday night program. So the only thing we could find was an extension ladder, but it didn't reach the roof. It didn't reach the ceiling. So my friend Jody went up on a probably 25 or 30-foot extension ladder. And my friend Jeff and myself and 2 other people were at the base. And he climbed up with the top of the ladder touching nothing.
Oh, wow.
And he tied it up on both sides. We left the ladder on the stage because our lookout was in the back in the band area, and he's like, he's on his way. So we ran out of there as fast as we could and went back to the dorm. Through our just showers were disgusting. It was old, but there was a little bench over there. We threw our clothes on the bench, and it was just an open room shower as most, that's the academy way for boys. Anyway, so all of us were standing in the all natural in the shower, taking our showers, and he busted in and he's like, I know what you did. And we're like, what? No. We're just getting ready. I mean, we only got it's only 35 minutes. We got to go. And so when we got over there, the staff was clearly upset that we had disobeyed and done what we wanted to do. And my mom was like, why, what's going on? She's like, are we going to have a program tonight? Am I taking you home early? And her warning was for graduation specifically, but this one filled in. She's like, do not miss marching, or your mother will not be your friend for the ultimatum came down often. I know, but I don't want to know. So they were really rude to us, and they should have been. I mean, but whatever. And so I don't know why I said it, but I did. And they're like, well, I can't believe it. Come on, you guys know what happened. And I was like, yeah, we do. And they're like, oh, man, he's going to fess up. And I'm like, man. So I kind of made myself cry a little tear. And I said, well, we just went back to the dorm and prayed about it because that's what you tell us to do all the time. And I said, we came back and it was a senior recognition miracle. So not that I would condone that kind of behavior out of my kids or anyone else necessarily, but
I'm guessing they weren't satisfied, and they didn't use that as a children's story later on about miracles that happened.
No miracles. No. So there was I love those guys, all of them. They're still we still keep in touch, and anytime the 4 of us get together, it's just like old times.
Mayhem.
Story, yeah, and it's not even it's just you pick up where you left off. So some of
Nice.
my favorite people are people that I met while I was there, and it was good for me. Overall, it was good for me to be there, even though we were a bit of troublemakers. But it was. I wouldn't. I'm sure I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you on the podcast if those 2 years at the academy hadn't happened. I can almost guarantee that. Yeah.
Wow. Great story. And for those of you listening, when you see Randy, ask him about crossing the Canadian border. That's one of my favorite stories. And then the second one, and I'm just going to leave it there because it's a podcast, and we'll just leave that. So the crossing the Canadian border, and then my other favorite is winter swimming.
Yes, winter swimming. That's a good story.
Yes, winter swimming. So
fun
you can ask him on your own time. But those are two of my favorites, just so you know. So Randy, when it comes to this message, you don't always you don't have the same privilege I do that you get to preach on a pretty frequent basis.
Is that what you call it?
I do. I think it is.
No, I'm kidding, but I don't know how you do it. I've never had to do two back to back.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, at the end I was like, I'm really tired.
It's people. I think people who haven't done a lot of preaching probably underestimate how physical it is. It doesn't because you're not running around. You're up front, but it is. It's. And I think maybe sometimes it may have to do with personalities, but a lot of pastors I speak to that preach will tell me that I'm not alone in feeling just completely physically and emotionally exhausted after preaching. It is.
I took an extended nap that was unintended. I was like, look, 30 minutes, and then we're going to go. It was Heather's birthday, so we went out kayaking. Oh. And I was like, but
happy belated birthday, Heather.
Yeah, I fell asleep hard. I didn't expect, and honestly, I had a lot of people ask me, and since, man, guys, thank you for all the emails and the text messages. Like, so many people reached out. I was like, man, I really enjoyed your message. Thank you. And
it was great.
And Keith Nolan said, man, I bet it was a little nerve-wracking, but I think you did great.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Keith. But honestly, what I was telling, I looked it up. I have all my old messages saved, and they're not that great, so we just leave them where they are. But this was the 9th time that I've actually was asked to get up and preach. And I was surprised at how tired I was, but I was really more worried about, I tend to forget things. So and I'm not up front a lot, which is fine by me. That's, not a thing, but I was more worried about where I was supposed to be when I was supposed to be. I'm like, what song am I supposed to go up after? This is what I'm thinking about, because I'm like, well, I guess, Randy, when they walk off the stage, it'll be your turn.
It is a cue at times.
But I was really worried about it. And then both times, Nate's like, okay, you're going to go off to the chair by Stanley. Yeah. Both times I walked down the steps. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? That's what you're supposed to do.
I guess.
Who walks across to chairs on a platform after a sermon? That's unheard of.
So all of my greatest fears came true.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning, in first service, the clock got screwed up in the back. So the first time I looked to see how much time I had, it said 39 minutes, 55, 56, 57.
Wow.
Is that going up? And then I'm like, wait a minute.
Did I go that far past?
And I'm like, 39 minutes. I'm like, we were supposed to start with 25.
Right.
So then I totally lost my place, and it was like a long pregnant pause, like Randy knew what he was doing. And then I looked the next time, 31, 30, 29, and I'm like, holy cow. And so I could see Nate in the back, and he's like, how much time? Where's he at in his message? And I see someone over there like 1, 2, 3, and he's like, so we kind of had to zip through a little bit to catch up, and I think I went over by 5, but we had a little extra time.
Yeah, I watched second service, and I think you were 30 minutes on that one. Not that I was.
Yeah.
That I was trying to pay attention or anything.
Yeah, no, I was pretty sure I knew I was close, and then it's been a long time since I've actually been up front, and then when certain things you feel it hit and you see people like resonating with what you said, and you let it lay there and pause for a little bit, I didn't take that into account in my time for when I was practicing, because I'm like, oh man, I think I'm going to be pretty close.
Well, you did a great job, Randy. It was a good sermon. It was, I think it's an important sermon. I thought it was very much on point for whole life and for our values here. You did a great job at the end of the sermon of referencing our recent work on our vision plan and all that sort of thing. So I really appreciated all of that. I thought it was really good. And what I was originally asking you, and what I was going to ask you is, given that you don't always have the privilege of preaching as often as you want, what led you to the topic that you picked? Why that versus any number of other things you could have done?
I think it's the thing that every church has to get right, or as close to right as they can, wherever they are in their journey with who they want to be. And I guess that's why I asked the question. And that was when the room really stopped. And you could feel it when I asked, like, okay, Whole Life family, who do we want to be as a church?
Yeah.
Who isn't worthy? And asked a few of those questions. And I could see people like thinking in their head. And I had a bunch of people come up and say, I have this person, and that's immediately who I thought of. And I'm like, well, is that person welcome here? And they're like, I think so. And I'm like, of course they are. Yeah. Right. And so those are the things that and someone else said, you know what? It's not like we don't know this, but just the way you presented it, for whatever reason, resonated with me today. And it's easy to forget that we have to not just be here for ourselves, but to be welcoming. And when people come, or that we should even be inviting people, and like, who in my circle could really use some whole life. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, Randy. And that's why I appreciate it. Like, yeah, is that something that we talk about here fairly frequently? Yes. Is it something that people know? Probably. But I think that the Christian rut, if you will,
the rut's a good one,
is the exclusion. And like, well, we're good with, but and I think that for me, I really appreciate the message. I think it's important for us at Whole Life to be having this message on not just once a year, but several times a year, because one of the things that we know about Whole Life is that we're growing. We're averaging over 800 people in our services this year, whereas last year we were, I think, averaging 740, 750. So that's 50 to 60 more people that weren't here last year. And as we grow, I think that this is it is one of our values here at this church, inclusion of everyone, and that everyone means everyone. And a lot of times in Christian churches, they'll say everyone's welcome here, but we all know there's a big asterisk on that. It's like, well, you're welcome here if. Yeah. And then maybe the more progressive church will be like, you're welcome to be here no matter who you are. You can sit in the back. We might even let you sit in the front. You're welcome to be here, but you're not going to be able to be involved. We're not going to, you'll need to, until you XYZ, you'll need to, be seen and not heard, or something along those lines. And so I think that's, for me, one of the special things that I have really enjoyed and appreciate very much about Whole Life and the culture that is here, that has been here, that was established a long time ago. And that it's not just that you're welcome to be here, you're wanted here and you're included, and we want you to be involved right from the jump, right from the moment you show up. You don't have to get everything figured out. Now, so we want to find the appropriate place for you to be engaged and involved. And, kind of to the story that you were talking about with you helping out with the sound system, kind of a little bit against your will. We would love to think that would never happen here at Whole Life, that the pastor would come and say, hey, you're not, for the reasons that you were given and for the reasons that you thought you might be asked. Because my strong conviction, and people, you're welcome to debate me on this, but my strong conviction is that church is where you've got to be. And if you're not involved, involvement's what keeps people in church. Not seeing, it doesn't matter how good your music is, doesn't matter how good the preaching is. If people don't find a way to be engaged and involved, and they find friends and people, then it's very difficult to want to keep going. Some people do it, but it's the rare person, in my opinion. And so,
but I think those are the people that I met in my church early on. They did it because that's what you had to do.
Right.
Because you're almost exiled from the community if you don't. And that's not a reason that I want to come to church. It's not a reason I want other people to come to church. I mean, start wherever you have to, maybe, but
I think that used to be. I don't know whether it was ever effective, but it was, I think, a lot more effective back in the day when, if you weren't a part of church, what were you going to do?
Yeah,
you're going to, harness up your carriage and drive the carriage 5 hours to the next closest church, or you're going to. I mean, the community, you just didn't have a place in the community if you were that outsider. And today it's not that way at all.
No.
If you don't want to go to church, if you're like, I don't want to do this, you have hundreds of different communities you get to pick one from. You can it can be the communities inside the town or city that you live in, that you can go find other groups of people that you want to hang out with. You can get online and find a group of people that you want to hang out with. And I think that a lot of churches just kind of miss the point that when they say, well, either you get with it or you can't be a part of our community. And people are like, well, if you don't want me, there's 17 other groups over there that would be more than happy to have me, including the bar around the corner that will know who I am and will welcome me, and when I'm in trouble, they will care about me.
Yeah.
I think church people sometimes don't realize that people who don't go to church have communities of people that look out for them too.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this idea, well, who's going to visit you if you go to the hospital? Well, Bob, who sits right next to me
yeah.
At the bar, he'll come visit me, and he'll and the group will go ahead, the trivia group, they're going to go ahead and they're going to bring food for my family.
Yeah.
And so I think that churches sometimes really kind of overestimate what power they have in somebody's life. And it's like, well, you're not welcome here. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I'll go somewhere else. And that's the world we live in today. And so I think the challenge for the church today is, how do you help people grow? Because that's really what we're after.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about it, this is really what we're after. We want people to be able to grow in Jesus. Why do we want them to grow in Jesus? Not because it's making us uncomfortable what they're up to, but because we want them to have a better life. We want them to have life to the full. And we don't want them to be engaging in behaviors that are harmful to themselves or others. And that's what the goal needs to be. And so that's kind of one of the things for me here at WholeLife. It's one of the things that I kind of take seriously. Everybody's wanted here until you're causing harm.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, we're going to need to have a conversation. It's not that you're not wanted here, but if you're harming other people, well, then we're going to have a conversation about that, because that can't be.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when I heard your story, it just kind of hit me, because I have watched that happen time and again in churches where people will be uninvited to serve, to making the church a better place. I'm sure that they didn't fill your position with somebody who was better than you.
There was. Well, the problem was there wasn't anybody.
Yeah,
like for years it was. And I only remember by his first name. His name was Mark, and he was old. He was in his 80s at least before he stopped doing it. And he'd bring his lawn chair behind the big audio console with the giant knob on it, but. The other part is, so many people that talked to me after the message was, they said that we wish we shared more about our story, or we felt more comfortable about sharing our stories from the front, because the stories that are uncomfortable make us uncomfortable. But then we also realize a couple of people that were surprised, and I won't call you out by name, but someone came up and gave me a big hug, and he's like, "Man, I knew we had stuff in common, but I didn't know we had that much in common."
Yeah.
And someone else who was, I've never met them before, and like, man, I'm so glad I came to church today. Like, this was a message I needed to hear. And thank you for just being open and sharing your story.
Yeah.
So I think, too, that maybe the part that made me feel really good about the message was just that if it helps someone else just see that, hey, someone else had a rough go of it for quite a while. And a lot of it early was just on purpose. I mean, it was my choice. It was just like I didn't see the value at all.
Yeah.
Didn't feel any reason, any pull. And part of it's because I'm a hard-headed person. I mean, that's without even any question whatsoever. But the other one, usually if it's like, hey, this is, why we do things. This is the benefit. This is, show me. And then I'm usually pretty good about that. Like I can change my mind. But I just didn't see any reason to. I was like, I don't know. I kind of, like you said, the people sitting next to you at the end of the bar. I mean, if my friends didn't see me by 9:00 at night, they assumed something bad had happened, and my cell phone was ringing, and like, you need a ride. What's going on? You okay? You're not here. Don't see you. And just having people that check on you on that level.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the other thing is, if we're willing to share, we're also willing to open ourselves up to have relationships where that should be the norm here too.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if Ken and I are supposed to be doing something and, I don't see him, I'm calling to find out. I saw you on the side of the road a couple of weeks ago and I was like, oh no, what happened to Ken?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I pulled over and was like, hey, I can back down that ramp if I need to, and I those are the kind of friendships that I like. And that that I found in places, and eventually I found them in church.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to also have to take the detour.
Yeah.
If we believe Jesus is coming, and I do, then soon, and there's that word again, soon, but, why who has time for 20 years?
Yeah.
Detours.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem is that it's just an unnecessary detour if we behave the way Jesus wants us to. And I appreciated that very much about your sermon, how you showed how Jesus was radically inclusive. You talked about that. You went through and showed that Jesus was absolutely radically inclusive to the point where he was being constantly criticized for the people he was spending time with. And like, this man is a friend of sinners, blah, blah, blah. And it seems a shame that followers of Jesus don't seem to enjoy having that same title put with their name, that were, friend of sinners, if you will.
Well, that was I think that might have been my favorite part, was because I had a couple of them where, the woman at the well, that's an easy one. The Good Samaritan, that's an easy one. But some of the others, without thinking of them in that specific context, were not stories that I would have thought would have been part of the message. But that part just seemed like, and it was like, yeah, the Roman whose son was healed because of his faith. And, and when you put it in that kind of context, like, okay, well, how is this, looking up other places where Jesus was just so inclusive? And that, I saw in that, during that section, I saw a lot of heads like, heard a lot of amens. And so I felt, I'm glad that resonated with everyone, to just, maybe if that's the part that's easy to remember of Jesus was inclusive, then that was worth it, just in that piece alone.
Yeah. The other thing that I really appreciate you mentioning, we think about the people who sometimes aren't welcomed into church. And I think that sometimes church people forget that oftentimes for those in our various communities with different cognitive differences, people who have different disabilities, church can be a pretty daunting place to try to show up to.
Yeah.
We continue to try to chip away here at WholeLife at different walls that we know get in the way. But there's some things that still are, 5 years after being here, there's still not an easy way to get up on the platform if you're not mobile.
Sure.
And there are other things that we can do. Now we are, like you mentioned, we're making strides, and I appreciate what so much what Jen French and Heather, your wife, do with Buddy Break and with so many of the other no barriers initiatives that they take on, different ways that we are trying to make the church more accessible to people who sometimes it's really hard. We have one of the things that every single one of us can do is that when people bring their children and their children aren't as maybe well behaved as you were taught that people are supposed to be in church, to have the grace. And if it is truly truly hard for you to concentrate in church, maybe you're the one that gets up and just moves somewhere where it's easier for you. And I know that can be difficult during second service, but one of the things that I always see when I see parents with small children, one of the things I always am like, oh, thank you so much for coming to church, because I remember having small children, and I remember the Mount Everest expedition level planning that you had to put into just getting out the door Sabbath morning, and your kids, you want them to look presentable at church, and you got to get them dressed, and then they're tearing their clothes apart and they're smearing peanut butter on there, it's and they're tired, and they get in and they have to sit for a long time, and it's hard. And so for me, whenever I see somebody with children in church, I'm just grateful. I'm just so glad. If your child isn't as well behaved as you probably wish they were, hey, we're just glad you're here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. And that doesn't mean that we don't all, work with our kids and help them learn how to have, appropriate behaviors in church. But what it does mean is that when somebody's coming here for the first time, or when somebody's been here for a long time, don't be careful how you judge. You don't know what they're up against.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the pastor's wife who saw my wife struggling with our kids during it when we went to visit a church. I was the communication director for the Georgia Cumberland Conference at that point. We were walking to this church, and Rochelle is pretty much a single mom at church because I'm busy preaching, doing whatever, and she's got to take care of both kids. And this lady just instead of judging Rochelle for what kind of parent she was, she just walked up and said, "Hey, I how can I help? What can I do? What can And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make sure your kids are good. It was just a, hey, glad you're here. Is there anything I can do to help you? And Rochelle's like, yeah, if you'd sit with me, that'd be great. And she sat there, helped play with our kids, worked with them. Anyway, it was, how nice is that? Rather than the tap on the shoulder and shh, we're in God's sanctuary right now. Please be quiet. And we all know this.
Yeah,
you think I'm like sitting here poking my child, try to get them to do this? As a parent, I was always embarrassed when my kids were acting up. I was like, I want but man, but that's the other part of this, is that when we say all are welcomed, all are one, and all are included, that includes the people that maybe don't have the same church behaviors that maybe you were raised to value and think is important. And maybe it is important. But maybe what's most important is that this person actually took the time to show up. Yeah. And they don't have to. Trust me, young families, way easier to stay home.
Absolutely way easier.
Way easier to stay home.
Yeah.
Way easier to stay home and watch the service online. And yet I'm so glad when people do take the time to come in. I'm happy for you to watch online if that's what's best for you and your family. But if you want to be here in church, this is where we want you. And so I really appreciate, how you touched on that as a dad with a child with special needs. Appreciate you touching on that and sharing that journey for you. I think those are all important things for people to hear. And I think it's important for people to know that when you look at our church staff, you see a lot of there's almost guaranteed to be somebody on staff that's like you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, and I think that was someone else had mentioned that they were wondering if I was going to touch on the Emily aspect of it, and it's hard because it's I'm not a person that likes to cry, and I got emotional at second because first was easy because
Heather wasn't there.
Heather wasn't there, and I'm just like, I didn't see that one coming, and I'd practiced. Melanie, thank you, had given me some great tips about talk about the things that you know are going to get you emotional, and then just talk through them until you're good. And then, you'll be fine. You may still have a pause. That was one I didn't plan on. I just didn't plan on. So there was that. But and the other part was someone said, well, I didn't feel like I kind of forget that Emily has special needs because she's just one of the church. She's just one of her family. And I'm like, well, I was hoping, and that for us, that's how we're always hoping it comes across, because before you have a child with special needs, you judge. And I understand that, because I've been the same person. Until you have someone that has something that you have to deal with, you don't know anything about it. So, yeah. And you go, oh man, they're just acting up, they're being naughty, and they're using that to, to their advantage. There's a lot of things that you hear from people, and it's like, okay. And until you know, you don't know. And so, two different people came up and was like, the picture at the end just had me in tears. Yeah. They're like, because it's not even that she has special needs. She just needed help. And the idea that as a church, we would just walk with each other in hand, they're like, that just made me think about it differently. And there's things that I can do to be that person. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's great. So, I always trust that whatever you say, God works through you, and multiple people just glad I was here today. So I'm like, well, that's good enough for me.
It was a great message, Randy. It was a really, really good message. It was right on point. I really appreciate it. Just appreciate you preaching while so many of the rest of us were off vacationing or doing things like that. So great job. Important message. I don't think we got any. I think all the questions were answered during second service. Am I right?
Yeah, Stan, there was a couple of good ones. He hit me with two of them, actually. And I was like, oh boy, this is... this doesn't feel like the podcast right now.
I'm just super proud of you for taking on not everybody's willing to take on the Q&A at the end.
Oh, so, yeah. Well, I was hoping it wasn't, but I also wasn't expecting this in second. I wasn't expecting that question, and it was actually two really, really solid questions. So good ones, guys, for that. Thank you. And then, guys, I'm going to put something in the Slack channel, and this is something you cannot miss. Podcast at WholeLife.church got an email this morning at 9:27 from Brazil, and the title of the email was "No Walls: The Brazil Edition." Oh, so greetings from Brazil, my fellow podcasters. I won't be tuning in today, but I had to drop this here. Huge congrats to my friend Randy on an incredible sermon. Who knows? Maybe a No Walls Brazil edition service is coming soon. See you all next week. Blessings. And it was from Lucas, but I gotta show Ken the picture that he. Oh no! Why you do that to me?
That picture, you definitely get on the Slack channel and find that one. That one is not to be missed.
Lucas has too much fun with AI, and so
that's fun.
That was fun. And then in the Slack channel, Roxana, Bill Crofton, I said, I will respond to you personally. I've got some Bill stories to share with you, and
I think we also got a voicemail from our very own Carolina Dave.
We did, and
I heard it's epic.
It is, Dave. I didn't see this one coming. And so but I'm super excited that you got my back, because I've just figured out from Ken that I will
let you know, Dave, if Dave says he has your back, he 100% has your back.
Yeah, I'm excited. So here we go. Carolina Dave.
Hey, Randy, it's Carolina Dave. Hope you and Melanie and Lucas and Ken are all doing well. Randy, I just want to tell you something. That sermon of yours, that message of yours last Sabbath, that really touched me. In regards to, when you first did the reference in Luke 17, verses 1 through 2, it kind of made me understand Matthew 19 verse 14 better. I always thought about it, Jesus, he did, in the literal sense, he told the disciples, let these little children come unto me. And when you put it in context that, there are some of us are still little children in our spiritual journey, it warmed my heart. I'd never thought of it that way before. I should have, but anyway. And when you said that, I did not realize I was holding on to this, but, I still feel guilt sometimes, hidden guilt for thinking I wasn't good enough for God because of what other people told me, because of this or that. My junior year in high school, I remember, my whole class, there was a rumor going around, we were all into Satanism. And, and the reason they gave for me was because I wore black all the time, and it wasn't because I was a Satanist, because I couldn't match my clothes to save anything. But anyway, that's neither here or there. Thank you for letting God deliver you that message. It gave me some peace in my heart. And I really appreciate that. It gave me a whole new understanding. And let me tell you something. Were you talking about the pastor coming up to the AV booth and having a one-sided short conversation? Man, I know this is not Christian-like, but that made me mad. If I'd been there, he would have gone back down those stairs real fast, because I would have whacked him upside the back of his head with my walker. But that's not Christian-like, so we won't dwell on that either.
We're going to have a sermon on peace.
Don't worry, Randy. I got your back when it comes to stuff like that. Even if you did bring in a new theme song, but we'll make that a matter of prayer over time.
All right, Dave, we're going to go ahead and do a sermon for you, buddy, on nonviolent response.
Oh man!
But we understand what we understand what you're saying, though. It's incredibly frustrating to me when I see people mistreating others, and Jesus actually seemed to have some kind of strong responses to people that behave that way too. So, thanks, Dave. Sorry for talking over the end of your bit there. Maybe you can go re-record that without me talking. So anyway,
no, that's he was just greetings and salutations on the way out. So thanks, Dave. I mean, I'm glad you resonated with the message. And as another person who wears black, for me, it's by choice. But I knew we had a lot in common, and that's just one more thing that keeps building it. So I appreciate that. And then I think that was. Let me just double check. I thought I saw something come through here. Nope, that was it. So if you did have a question, we'll catch it next week. I am somehow locked out of my account on Church Online where the chat resonates, where the chat is originates is it lives, it breathes, it does its stuff there. But I am not, and I think we had everything asked as of second service. So let's see. If that means we're past Easter, we're past Randy, Ken's back. And this week, this is the message that we were going to do before Lament, or on the week that we switched.
We switched to Lament, yeah.
And this is, what are we talking about this week?
We're talking about healthy versus toxic spirituality. I get asked on a really regular basis, hey, can you watch this person? Can you watch this preacher and tell me your opinion of them? Can you tell me whether you think that they're on track? Or I often will get people who will be like, we're going over to this other church because of this, and we wonder if do you think that this church is on the right track or whatever else, and so this is my sermon response to that. So we're going to talk about toxic spirituality and healthy spirituality. And the reason we're doing that is this week is graduation weekend. We're celebrating that. So if you're graduating from pre-K through PhD, we have a gift for you this week. So come to WholeLife. We're going to celebrate graduates this week. And what I wanted to kind of do is, a lot of times when you graduate, it can be a transition in life. You start, maybe you were going to church because that's where your parents went to church, and so what I want to do is I want to talk about, here's some things to think about when you're trying to evaluate what's happening in your spiritual life, particularly in a spiritual community. How do you evaluate a spiritual community, whether it's toxic or whether it's healthy?
Ooh, kind of like we're gonna give you 5. Are we getting 5 stars? Are you gonna let me in on that, or how do we rank? Do we?
Oh.
Is whole life in the? Are we? Are we
Well,
getting ranked?
obviously, I think WholeLife is
It's
pretty
5 stars. Okay.
fantastic. So, on the other hand, I'm happy for you to measure it based on.
Yeah.
I think I have 12 different things to think about.
Whoa, 12 different things.
Yeah.
Well, to get out take notes. Maybe this will be a week you want to.
Well, I'm hoping I can work with the communication department to put my my 12 slides up on the internet somewhere where people can look at them if they want to. So that
Did Lucas do those already?
they're already done.
Oh, well, we can figure that out. We'll have to wholelife.church/ things Ken wants you to know.
Yeah.
It's the easy one to remember.
The fun part is each slide has. I'm not huge on proof text, but every slide has probably about a half dozen to more of Bible verses that support
that theme.
that thesis that I'm putting out there. That this is what looks healthy versus what isn't.
Nice. Well, those would be good to keep track of then. Yeah, we'll figure out a place to put those, and then we'll make sure that maybe we can add those to the tap next week.
Perfect.
That sounds like a good idea.
So then we have a series after that coming up called Don't Forget.
Man, we're back to a series.
Well, I know it's
a
weird,
series,
huh?
you say?
It's something I heard about long ago.
Yeah, it sounds like a cool idea. We should look into it.
Yeah.
So we're going to.
We are. We're doing a series called Don't Forget. And speaking of Don't Forget, we have our summer series coming up. Ooh. And right now I have, I think, 11 weeks that I need to fill, and I have one. Yeah. So here's how the summer series is working. It's called Our Favorite Things.
Okay.
Our favorite things.
Can this compete with the Wetmore summer series?
I don't know. There's only one summer I could do that. So I think it should. Okay. I'm super excited about this, and I'm really hoping that you will be too. And here's what I need from you. This is going to, some of you are going to be like, isn't this just great question? No, it's not. It's what we want you to do is we want you to send in your favorite Bible story or your favorite Bible verse, and I will do a sermon on it this summer.
Can it be a chapter?
Sure.
All right.
You can do your favorite Bible chapter, your favorite Bible story, your favorite Bible verses. You could probably even give me 2 Bible verses and see if I can put those together. We'll see. But you can send those to, it doesn't matter. You can send them to Melanie or me or both of us. Melanie at WholeLife.church. Melanie is MELANIE at WholeLife.church. Or you can send it to Ken at WholeLife.church. Ken is KEN, 3 letters.
That's enough.
It is enough. And so it is enough. So just send those in. And the little caveat is that one of the things we'd really like, and I don't know if this is holding you back, so don't let it hold it back. But one of the things we'd love for you to do is we'd love for you to eventually videotape something with Randy where you say, hey, Ken, my favorite verse is da-da-da. And so... and this is why it means something to me, or this is my favorite Bible story, and this is why it means something to me. Looking forward to your sermon.
Nice.
Go. So we really need 10 people to come forward with their favorite Bible verse, their favorite scripture, and that is the key to this. It's not really something that you necessarily have a question on as much as we're calling it our favorite thing. So you remember that good old Sound of Music song, my favorite things, raindrops on roses, and anyway, so
my mom loves that movie.
It's a good movie.
I hate that.
Oh, come on, Randy. That is a good movie. That is
now until the distributor cap scene is my favorite. If we can just fast forward to hour 7 when that happens.
Why am I not surprised by that? Yeah, that's.
Then I'm like, oh. Then I'm down. Yeah.
But we do need you to send those in. We also have Vacation Bible School coming up, I think, starting in June. Is it June 14th?
Oh, 15th, I think, 15th? Is the Monday, I believe.
Yeah.
I just put it in it's actually right now, if you go to WholeLife.church/events, it is in the calendar, and there's a little button when you open it. It says sync to calendar.
Nice.
And that will put those dates and times into your calendar, and it'll say WholeLife VBS. So, hey, I've got something.
Do we know if registration's up for that?
Registration will be open hopefully tomorrow. I've had a few bumps
tomorrow
and bruises.
Being tomorrow after they listen to it, or
so
tomorrow after when?
Probably Thursday.
Thursday?
Jen and I are probably going to be we're hoping to meet before then and iron
Yeah.
out details. So I've got everything started, and we're working through that process.
We also need volunteers. That's another big thing. We need a lot of volunteers to help us with that. Last year, we come close to 200 kids here at the church for VBS. So that means we need a lot of help. Adult help is excellent.
Yeah.
And so we appreciate that. Another fun thing that we're doing this summer, simultaneously with Vacation Bible School, is something we're calling Vacation Bible School Plus. And that, so Vacation Bible School is for basically, I think it's pre-K 4, so 4 and up. And the idea is that your child does need to be potty trained before they come to VBS. So if they're 5 and not potty trained, we'd say, probably need to get them potty trained, just for a number of different reasons. It's pre-K 4 through, I believe, 5th grade rising.
Okay.
Rising 5th grade. And I think rising 5th graders get to choose whether they want to come to regular VBS or they want to go to VBS Plus. VBS is rising 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. And that is going to be our very own Carla.
Oh, okay.
Our youth pastor is going to be in charge of that. And it's going to be a program that runs at the same time that VBS is. So if you have rising 6th, 7th, or 8th graders, they can go to this. It's going to be over in our youth center, and it's going to be kind of a service camp. There's going to be opportunities to do service, so you can get service hours in. It's going to be pretty great.
Nice.
And we'll have to have Carla tell you more about it, but we're really excited to be offering that this year. And if you're a high schooler, of course, we would love to have you volunteer to help us with Vacation Bible School.
Gotcha.
Those are all rising 9th all the way through 12th, adults all the way college. We'll take you. We'd love to have your help with that. And so that's the plans for this summer. We're really looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be just a great summer.
Yeah, and I'm excited that Jen French is leading it, because we've had her and I have gotten a bunch of other things, like Buddy Break that happened. We mentioned it in the podcast. Happened this past Sunday. They had nine kids.
Wow.
So that means we know, as a special need dad, we know that there are a lot of people in our community that could benefit from a church that is inclusive to them. Also, programs like Buddy Break and VBS, things like that. So we got everything ironed out there, and now we have switched gears towards VBS. And so I think it's going to take one meeting from us this week, but hopefully by Thursday we'll have all that. If you're a volunteer, whether you're wanting to register your child, and then we'll make an announcement probably this week and make all that happen.
Yeah, I think so. So good times.
Yeah, no, lots to do here in the summer as well. Even when it's hot and sticky outside, that's why they made AC.
Ooh, the other thing that I ought to, if you haven't signed up, this is one that I would really encourage you. Our Stephen Ministers program is starting a really amazing small community. It's for about 8 weeks, I think. And what it's focusing on is a book that talks about creating healthy.
Oh yeah,
my brain just froze.
Let me. Yeah, we can edit that part. Let me just see. That's.
Oh, what's the word? It's the word for assertiveness. There we go. I'm ready. All right.
Okay, go for it.
So it's a really wonderful book club and small community that's going to be talking about healthy assertiveness, how to ask for what you want in the ways that will help you be respectful of other people's boundaries, but also let people know what you need. And so really great. One of the cool things about this is that this is really the people who are putting this book out are actually asking our Stephen ministers to help them kind of beta test it to a certain extent. So
Carrying assertiveness.
So yeah, check that out. If you haven't signed up for it, or if you struggle with assertiveness or people pleasing in your life, this might be a really great class for you to be a part of. So highly encourage you to get in on that. You're not going to regret it. I think it starts this Sabbath, the 18th.
April 18th, yeah.
So don't miss out on that. And I do believe it's happening during our church service.
10:45 to 11:45.
Yeah. So
well, and I would say that I don't know how many spaces they have available, but I did see the ladies out at the table, Pam and
good.
Deanna. Man, goodness. And they had a list, a page long, and it was many of you signing up online. So
So they already have a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. So there's already a lot of people in.
Well,
so
I just promoted something. I don't know if it's full or not then.
Yeah,
I know there is somewhat of limited space, but.
Yeah, they didn't say full, but definitely, of course, I suppose if they got enough people that were interested, they might go for round 2 as well. So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So make sure you do that. And you can't beat Deanna and Pam. So,
well, Randy, it's been a great podcast today.
Yeah.
Man, it's been so fun having you as a guest, and and it's so fun having this. So we hope all of you out there in podcast world enjoyed this episode, and we are grateful to Randy for just the incredible job he did this week. Make sure you tune in again next week because, we keep doing this. We keep churning them out, Randy.
We'll be back. And I think it's just going to be us again next week.
Will it just the two of us?
I think it's just two of us.
Yeah.
I know that we've been singing that song a lot lately around here, but I think Lucas gets back on Wednesdays, so he won't be here, and I think Melanie either.
Really? I thought Melanie was back on Monday.
Maybe she is.
I don't know. Yeah, I think Melanie's back.
So maybe it'll be the 3 of us.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll change the lyrics.
But, she may be pretty exhausted from, playing with that grandchild, so
right.
She may need a day off.
Well, I hope that she's not listening.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to This is Whole Life. If today's conversation resonated with you, we invite you to subscribe, share, and leave a review on your favorite listening platform. To join the conversation, send a text or voicemail to 407-965-1607 or email podcast@wholelife.church. To learn more about Whole Life Church, worship with us online or in person, visit our website, wholelife.church. Until next time, this is Whole Life.